wanted to say welcome, and this is Nifty and Novel Ways to Get from Here to There. We're going to be talking about all the transportation things that we have here in our area. Lively and informative overview about area transportation options. Panelists will share their insights and expertise. An opportunity to get your mobility questions answered by top-notch professionals. We're going to start out with our moderator, the gentleman to my right. His name is Dave Hutchinson, and he's the Executive Director, the Sarasota Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization. And Dave is going to then introduce the rest of our panelists. So, thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much. Good. You are in luck. We have, well, just for you, you get to sign up for your flying car. Novel way to get around. Well, sorry. We're still working on that. But we do have some experts here in state-of-the-art ways to get around our region, aside from everyone getting in their own car, which is a mechanism that most of us use and will probably continue to use, and we like because it provides us with independence. And that's one of the themes of what we need in order to have good ways to get around from here to there. So I'm going to introduce the panel, and each panelist will tell us a little bit about their agency and their operations and how they're contributing to innovation and improvements in our transportation system. And then we'll open it up for questions and see what your interests are as well. So our first panelist that will speak is going to be Kendra Hireling, and the bios of everyone are on the back of the sheet that you might have received when you walked in. And Kendra is with SCAT, or the Sarasota County Area Transit, which is one of our 2 regional transit agencies that operate in Sarasota and Manatee County. And believe it or not, SCAT actually operates in the Manatee County. So if you have something you're going to see, things like the iRide service, and we see variations of the traditional big bus. And I think we'll leave it there, and we welcome you, and Kendra, we'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks Dave. Hello everyone, my name is Kendra Hireling, and I currently work for SCAT, otherwise known as Sarasota County Area Transit. I've been with SCAT now for 3 years, and when I first interviewed for the job, I thought I was going for marketing for Sarasota County. I said, how the heck am I going to market a bus? Really? Mm-hmm. But it's turned out to be an incredible 3 years. SCAT has made so many different changes, and definitely towards the right direction. Transportation is huge in this community. I do a lot of outreach, and I talk to a lot of you folks, and it definitely is a necessity in this town. Even for the aging, and also even our students. I mean, our students look at us for transportation to get around. What about our tourists? Yes, we need to feed our tourists instead of having them rent cars. Now, a lot of things that SCAT has changed throughout the years, which I think is important to everyone here, is we have all new buses. Our oldest bus is only 3 years old, which is great. The bus outside, so I encourage everyone to go and get on the bus and experience the bus. How many folks here have actually ridden a bus? Okay. Now, have you ridden it outside the country? Okay. So why aren't you riding it here? That's what I ask everyone. If you'll ride in a foreign country, you don't even know the language, you don't even know where you're going, but you're scared to get on a SCAT bus riding around Sarasota County, don't be scared. We have security cameras all around our buses, inside and out, for audio and visual. Our bus drivers are fabulous. Most of them are retired, coming from all over the country as they're doing this job for benefits, and they love their job. They love people. Or they rode buses up in Pennsylvania or New York City. I used to ride the subway in New York City. Talk about scary. And if you don't want to sit next to someone, you can get up and leave and move. The subway, I was literally going car to car to car to get away from people, so that's scary. But really, our service here is wonderful. It's Monday through Sunday. We operate on a very fixed budget, so we do the best we can do with our routes. We do a lot of outreach and see what the community wants. And I think we're really starting to listen. We do have a new free trolley on Siesta Key, and that's wonderful and it's fun. But I think the goal there was to really to move people around the key to eliminate the parking, because eliminate parking and congestion, because that is such a problem here in the community. But does anyone here, I mean, I don't know if we're doing questions and answers, but I'd like to reach out to everyone here and see what their concerns are with SCAT, or what you would like to see improved with our system.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been riding SCAT for about a year now.
Okay.
And it's worked out very well, but I noticed that there's a lot of tweaking to be done with the schedule. In other words, when you come down to Soda on the 15th, you can't get the north-south routes. They're 5 minutes ahead of you. It's so close that you're not able to connect to come to the town. If you would tweak the schedule just like 5 or 10 minutes, it would be like, boom, you could move.
And that's great feedback. So if anyone has specific scheduling problems or issues, that's where we encourage you all, because we could talk about that all day long, but we encourage you to give that feedback to SCAT, because we do make changes in our schedules every 6 months. And we do that to try and accommodate different areas and the movement, and maybe a senior center is opening up in one area. So we always are looking at changing and revising our routes to improve. So we encourage everyone to call 861-5000, that's the customer service line, and you can make a request and it will come directly to SCAT, and we can hopefully accommodate your needs. Yes.
First of all, where do you get schedules and fee schedules? I don't even know where you get that.
Sure, you bet. Well, we have lovely ride guides, which I encourage everyone to go to our booth, which is right outside, and you can pick up a ride guide. Everything is also online, so if anyone has access to a computer, there's actually a Google trip planner. If you go on to Google and all you need to do is put in your origin, your destination, and it will literally tell you what buses to take. It'll show a Google image of the actual stop. So that's a fabulous tool to use. And as far as the pricing is concerned, for seniors 65 and older, it's only 60 cents each way. We have a $4 pass, which is good on the bus, and that will get you all around Sarasota County all day long.
My other question is, though, I have a low vision neighbor next door, and it's the smaller SCAT bus, picks her up, I don't know if it's on a schedule, and takes her around, and I asked the driver, because I have some disabilities too, how does that work, and can we use that?
Perfect. This is called SCAT Plus, and SCAT Plus is an application process. So you would fill out an application, you would have your doctor also sign off on it, and then if you are approved, it's a door-to-door service, which is $2.50 each way. Now there's a window, you have to wait, you have to make a reservation, and there's a window, and you also might share the ride with someone else. But just so you know, we are extremely lucky to have this service in our county. It's not all over the country. It costs the county $49 per trip, and you're only paying $2.50 each way. It's phenomenal. But it is an application process that you need to apply for. So, yes.
Could I ask, if you have a medical appointment or something where you've got to be on time, could you be in front of a lot of people who get on and they're just going shopping or something like that?
Right.
Last week I was an hour late for a poetry occasion, and also for a medical appointment. It's so difficult.
It is, and unfortunately that's how the service has to work in order to accommodate it. So, and that's the part where we would love to part with Uber and everyone else. And that's where we're moving towards the future, so I'm excited to listen to Stephanie's speech. Because everyone also complains about, though the bus stop's not close enough to my house, how am I going to get from the bus stop to my house? And that's where we'd like to partner with someone like Uber, or to get you from that last mile, from your bus stop to your home or your destination.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the SCAT.
The SCAT Plus. We will take that offline. I'll come out and talk to you afterwards. How does that sound? Wonderful.
Great.
And that's good. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up that part of it, because I know everyone else needs to talk. But yes, one more.
Thank you. My question is about expansion. I've been riding the SCAT bus for the last 2 years, and I love it. It's great. Live in Lakewood Ranch, and I'm just curious if you're going to be expanding more of the routes in Lakewood Ranch, because we don't have that heavy of usership.
Right. And that would actually be Manatee County. And I know that for, I think, 2020, they're going to be expanding in Lakewood Ranch. But what I would do is go to MCAT, Manatee County Transit, and go to their website. And I think they have posted what their future plans are. And then you can find out what extensions they're going to have in Lakewood Ranch. Because I agree with you, we need more bus service out there. I live out there as well.
Great, thank you very much. Those are excellent questions. And Arthur, why don't you tell us about ITN?
Great, thanks, Dave. So ITN Suncoast, again, it stands for Independent Transportation Network. We are a nonprofit organization that's been providing rides in the area since 2010. We use a combination of volunteer and paid drivers to be able to take people wherever they want to go for whatever reason, any time of the day or night, any day of the week, including weekends and holidays, anywhere within Sarasota and Manatee County. All right, we are the kinder, gentler, and more personal option for you in meeting your transportation needs. You know, there's, so what to say about it? God, I can't believe I'm speechless. No, so we provide rides to folks 60 and older and any adult with a vision impairment. And our mission really is to continue to be a comfortable, safe, affordable transportation option when driving yourself is either not safe or practical. To be honest, most of our riders are in their 80s and 90s, who are people who no longer drive. And like I said, maximum flexibility. We are there, you know, the way it works is we're not an on-demand service. You need to call us no later than 1 o'clock the day before. Tell us what time you want to get picked up, the address of where you want to go, and the time you want to return ride. I call us the kinder and gentler and more personal service because we have a small office. When you call up to make a ride request, you're going to get to know the people who are there to help you, give us the information we need to be able to give you the rides if you want. You will become familiar with the drivers because we typically have the same driver or 2 or 3 different drivers give people who ride with us frequently the rides so that there's a relationship that gets developed. And so that's essentially, you know, we carefully screen and train all of our drivers, so I'm comfortable, we're comfortable with the drivers who are sent out. We don't collect any money at the time of a ride. We basically bill people on a monthly basis so that there's no exchange of cash or any money at all. And probably the most important thing actually is we provide whatever support you need to get from your home to the car and from the car to your destination. So for example, if I actually had the question this morning, somebody said, will you come to my apartment? If, you know, they live in an apartment building, we don't just drive up, we provide whatever you want. So some people are completely independent. They say, just pull up, I'll come out, we'll be on our way. For other people, they need more support than that. It could be an arm, it could be a reminder, it could be a knock on the door of their apartment. So we will get out, our drivers get out of the car if that's what people need, to be able to provide whatever support people need to not only get to the car, but to get to their destination. So if you're going to the theater or you're going to a doctor's office and you need help to actually get to the office itself, that's what we're here to do, is to make sure that you can make those connections. 4 basic programs. What I really just described is our general ride program. The second program we call the Road Scholar program. We're here to meet the needs of the entire community regardless of ability to pay. We do charge for our rides because we have expenses that we need to cover, but we also know that there are people in the community who are living on limited incomes, and so we provide rides at a reduced cost to people who are on limited incomes. The third program we have is, right now we have a grant from an international pharmaceutical company, Regeneron International, and they cover the cost of any rides to eye appointments. So rides to eye appointments are free currently. And so you just have to call up, sign up, and then just put in your ride request like you would normally do to take advantage of our service. And the fourth program we recently launched. In talking to the people we provide rides to, a lot of them feel pretty isolated, and I really appreciate the connection that we provide them to the community. But sometimes they're a little shy. They know where they need to go, and sometimes they know where they want to go. But sometimes to do new things, to get out and try new things is a little bit daunting. So we put together a program that we call Let's Go Places, where we put together a schedule on a monthly basis of activities or events. And so it's an opportunity for somebody to, basically connect with one or two other people, because we don't take any more than 3 people in a car at a time, and go experience one of the many things that the community has to offer. So that's a brand new program that we're trying to get the word out on. The last thing I'll say is that we rely to a large extent on volunteer drivers. We're challenged because 3 years ago we did 1,000 rides in the year. 2 years ago we did 5,000 rides. Last year we did 10,000 rides. And this year we're on track to do somewhere between 17 and 20,000 rides. All right? And, and I have a feeling that it's really just going to continue because I think the need exists within the community. While we have many volunteers, we have not been able to keep pace in recruiting new volunteers to meet the increased ride requests that we're getting. So if any of you are interested, we make it very easy and comfortable for people to volunteer. We're very flexible. We just started a Gimme 5 program, 5 rides a month, and we would be thrilled to death. 1 ride a month, for that matter, would be very acceptable to us. And we do provide some benefits to people who are willing to be volunteer drivers, both in terms of mileage reimbursement as well as you actually get credits for the mileage that you drive that you can bank and use yourself at some point in the future, that you can give to a friend. We have a driver who does all his driving for his mother-in-law, for example, so that she has more independence rather than relying exclusively on him to get around. Some people will contribute their miles to the Road Scholar program for folks who are on limited income, so that it helps cover that cost, or you can donate it back to us. But we try to make it easy, attractive, and really worthwhile to be a volunteer driver. So I don't know how much time I have, but I think I'll wrap it up right there and say, if you have any questions, please either catch me today, or it's IT as in Tom, N as in Nancy, suncoast.org. We have a website, and you can certainly find us through Google to give our office a call.
And you have a booth inside.
We do have a booth inside. Thank you, Dave.
As does SCAT has a booth outside, and Uber has a booth inside.
Yeah.
So you have a question?
Do you do the same kind of payment that Uber does, that you register a credit card and it goes on it?
No.
Or are people billed and they write a check? How do you
That's
work
correct.
that out?
We send out monthly statements, and then people can pay. They can pay with a credit card. They can pay with a check. But it's not. You're not charged for each ride individually. You get monthly statements, and then we settle up that way. Yeah.
Is there a cost per ride? I mean, I know that if I take Uber from the airport gets $2.50 right off the top.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way our regular ride program goes is there's a $50 annual membership fee, and then there's a charge on a per ride basis. It's $3, a pickup charge, and $1.75 a mile. We're certainly more expensive than SCAT. Listen, SCAT's the best deal in town. There's no question about it. If it works for you, then that's the way to go. But we tend to be significantly less than taxis, and depending upon the demand charge that Uber applies to what they charge you, we're either less expensive or more expensive. Really. Yeah.
It's all about options.
So,
right.
But again, that's the key. We're another option. We're also, by the way, in terms of Nifty, we're trying to do a mapping project to find time warps so that we can reduce the travel time between Venice and Sarasota. We think that would
Flying car.
We think that could compete at some point with driverless cars, but don't hold your breath. It may be a while before we work out the details of that.
Well, that's a great transition, actually. We know that Uber is at the forefront of exploring automated vehicles and what you just called driverless cars.
this
Where are
on?
we
Can you
at?
hear me? Oh, gosh.
And we'll hear now from Stephanie Smith.
Yeah, so my name is Stephanie Smith, and I work on the public policy team for Uber based in Miami. Our Uber Florida headquarters is in Miami, but I represent the entire state and love attending events like this. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. So Uber, our overall mission is to be able to provide reliable, safe, reliable, affordable rides anywhere and anytime. And so in 2010, two gentlemen had an idea if you could just click a button and be able to request a ride wherever you are, whatever time. And here we are 7 years later, and 5 billion trips later, we're looking at now doing autonomous vehicles and so many other things, Uber Eats, delivery, and other fun things. But just specifically to hear for Sarasota, we are glad to be a part of the community here in the region. Many times the drivers and the riders, whether they're local community, whether it's folks trying to enjoy themselves for dinner and had a drink, or if they're trying to get to an appointment, or if they're tourists that have used the app to get to the airport and are used to using it back home. A lot of our trips occur across the counties. You'll get a lot of trips that come in from Tampa and come into town, or vice versa, or across the region. We also, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, we have a lot of close relationships now with our public transit agencies, as folks are looking, as local governments are looking to close the gap with that first mile, last mile opportunity, folks to complement public transportation. We really look at ourselves as an option, as just these great options that were outlined here today. It's just another option that the community has to be able to get a safe, affordable ride. So I know we've talked a lot. I'm happy to go into questions now. And also we do have a booth inside where we're helping folks download the app. If you have issues with your app or questions, I know sometimes it can be frustrating to try to reach someone. I want you to know that we're here. We've got some teams here, and we'll be here throughout the end of the day to answer any questions that you have. Just a few numbers. I unfortunately didn't pull our regional numbers. I should have done that. But we have about over 100,000 drivers in Florida, and we do 1 million trips a day. So it's spreading very quickly, and it's really exciting, the things that they're looking to. We do not have autonomous self-driving in Florida yet, so more to come on that. But so yeah, I'll just wrap up there.
We do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what if you don't have a smartphone? I'll bet a lot of seniors don't.
That's right.
Can you not use the service?
That's right. So right now, you're exactly right. If you would need a smartphone in order to use it. We just launched where you can have a family or a friend order one on your behalf. So for instance, right now, I've done that for my mom. She's not comfortable with a smartphone. I tell them where to pick her up, where to take her. It knows her name and her location and her phone number. They call her. And right now that is the only solution. But again, that's why it's good to have options like you all do have in Sarasota for that reason. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Nonprofit. I just kind of clarified. I know your government, some of you say nonprofit. Is it true that of the four of you, the only for-profit organization of the four of you is Uber? The rest of you are not for profit.
Yeah, and the drivers are independent contractors, so a portion of the fee goes to them, and then the rest goes to Uber. So yeah.
I would bet there's at least one Uber driver in our
Yeah, is
audience
there one?
today.
I met someone earlier today. Okay.
I'm surprised.
Thank you.
Any questions for the panel generally? We'll open it up. Oh, she was bringing you a microphone.
There you go.
For staff.
Yes.
A lot of the places that people have to wait are in the sun. There's a danger of cancer. Ants. Is there any way that the bus stops could be upgraded?
Yes, and that is one of our major priorities. We do have, Sarasota County is so widespread, and we also share routes with Manatee. We have over 2,000 bus stops. And believe it or not, to build a bus stop, because it has to be ADA compliant, it also has to be hurricane. Believe it or not, the concrete has to be 7 or 8 inches thick for the actual construction to go on, and it literally costs $37,000 a structure, which is crazy. But it is one of our priorities, and we are actually looking at trying to do advertising on our shelters to offset the cost, so we'll have more shelters for the folks. So that's our goal. Shelters and benches over the next few years. You will see less stops where no one's getting off on. That might be removed, but at least we'll have a bench and a shelter at a stop that is being used. So thank you for addressing that. And we know that that's a concern. It's just a major, major cost for the county.
My question's for Dave. Thank you. I live just off Honoré, and it's a nightmare. I don't know who was responsible for making the 2-lane, but it should have been 4 from the start. And it's just a nightmare. Yesterday we were 35 minutes getting from Fruitville down. It's just ridiculous.
The long-term plan of Sarasota County is to have a 4-lane Honoré from University all the way down to Laurel Road, basically.
It's going to have to go in a different way.
Well, yeah, a lot of the people who live along Honoré are not in favor of having it serve as that connector and arterial. So that's always a challenge. Even replacing an existing bridge, people don't want to see anything different. But change is inevitable. We have to change the way that we get around. We can't afford to widen every road to handle more cars. So
Well, that's the only one that goes right through, and it's a nightmare.
time of day planning might be part of the solution. If you can avoid it during the time that it's congested.
When I'm deaf at night, I can hear it down right at the other end of Old Ashbourne. It's just terrible.
Yeah, no simple solution on that one.
Okay, good. I'll look for it.
This is a little bit different, but just lately in the newspaper, they have been talking about the fact that we have no rail service. And it would be absolutely wonderful if we had rail service up to Tampa, those of us who would like to go up to the airport. And would you tell us any of your services that could actually provide service to the airport? Because the driving services have gotten ridiculously expensive. And I don't know what Uber would be from here up to Tampa or even St. Pete Airport. And it would be absolutely wonderful if our rail line, which apparently is still there, could be reactivated so that we could have some trains and get some of this traffic off I-75 or even going up 301 and heading into Tampa.
There have been some analyses and I'll even say studies related to bus rapid transit, which is sort of a required mandatory precursor to any federal investment in rail, which is hard to get. The places that have it get to maintain what they have before they start adding new rail services. They want to see ridership and demand ahead of time. So to some extent, it's a chicken and egg situation. Our area where people tend to not be concentrated along a few routes, we're basically sprawled out in many ways, contributes to us wanting to and needing to use a car versus a mass transit solution. So I'd say that we were almost at the point where there would have been this bus rapid transit, which would have started some concentrated rail service linking up to Tampa when the statewide high-speed rail plan was put on hold years ago. So rail in Tampa didn't happen. Rail down here, which is further out, could be in that corridor, or it could be in what is called a multimodal envelope in I-75, and then there would have to be non-rail connections over to any future potential rail service, but it's not in any plans right now for local rail service in our area. And do you have anything to add?
Oh, I think our prices fluctuate on our app, but if you put in the address, I took it down from Tampa here, and I plan to take it back to Tampa Airport. Can you tell us what it is? Yeah, and mine it was 50. It was like 50, 52, one way. Mm-hmm.
How about the bus? Unfortunately, you don't go to the
Yeah.
How about the Amtrak bus? Because the Amtrak bus, people can actually take.
I don't know the price.
Doesn't go to the airport.
It does go to the airport, but if you could take the Amtrak bus up to St. Petersburg, and then it may even have a Tampa stop, people could get off there and take Uber to go to the airport or the cruise port. I'm just thinking
Yeah,
that
cut your
might
costs.
be an interesting option, because Amtrak does have a bus that comes right to Sarasota.
Yes.
Good questions. And that connectivity and linkages between different systems is an ongoing challenge, but it's one that, as you heard today, all of our partners in transportation do look to help people make those connections. So you've given some good ideas.
Could I just offer a suggestion to that? I fly a lot, and I always fly in and out of Sarasota Airport. We have a wonderful airport here.
Yeah.
You don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
It's a good airport.
I love it.
But it's not a price comparison, because sometimes the cost of you getting to Tampa Airport is the difference in the price. So I encourage folks to do that, because everyone can take a scout. We have a lot of routes in and out of Sarasota Airport, a lot, which is great. We partner with them very well. And I always tell people, please do a price comparison and keep our airport. We want to keep our airport too. We don't want it to go anywhere. It's great.
Well, I have a question, and I'll ask it of Kendra first, I guess, and because you can answer it the most easily, probably. A lot of people want to ride their bike and then take their bike on the bus. So what all is allowed on the bus? And what if someone is in a wheelchair? Do they need to use a different service than the regular bus? Bicycles, walkers, coolers, suitcases.
Yes, Dave, everything can come on the bus. Everything Dave mentioned can come on the bus. We have a ramp that deploys for folks that use wheelchairs or use walkers, and also for easy access. All you need to do if you have problems stepping up, our buses do kneel even, but if you want the walker to come out, if you have a cooler you want to bring on, or even your groceries, or something with your groceries, or a beach chair, you can just ask the driver to deploy the ramp for you, and they will do so, as long as it's a safe area. But we do allow everything on our buses. We do have 2 bicycle racks on the front of each bus, and there's instructions in our ride guide how to do it. It's very simple. You just put it on, and then there's something to put over it, and we can show you that, actually sample it for you out at our bus. So a lot of folks will do that. They'll ride the trail. They'll take the bus to a certain point with their bicycle. They'll ride the trail, and then they'll come back, and they'll put their bikes on the bus and then go back to their house. So a lot of folks utilize our bicycle ramps.
And can I just, so in terms of the service that we provide rides to certainly a lot of folks who use walkers. If they go shopping, we'll assist them in bringing their groceries to their door. We provide rides to folks with wheelchairs on very limited circumstances. They need to be able to, because most of our drivers use their own vehicles. All right, so the 3 conditions are: A, somebody needs to be able to transfer on their own, because we're not a home health agency, we're not a companion service, we provide transportation. Second, the wheelchair needs to be collapsible, so that it will fit in a car. And the third is that we can find a driver who is willing and able to accommodate that. Most of our drivers are in their 60s and 70s, and most of our riders are in their 80s and 90s. And so while we have some folks who, and we do provide a limited number of rides to folks who are in wheelchairs, it isn't our sweet spot, so to speak. It's not typically what we do a lot of. But we also do provide rides for pets. not on their own. They have to be accompanied by, they need to be accompanied by a consenting adult. But again, we're here to provide whatever we can to basically be flexible, to meet people's needs. And so whether it's pets or coolers, possibly bicycles, but I don't think we've had that request yet. We try to really accommodate people's needs.
Let's talk just for a second about pets or service animals and can you take them on a bus or with Uber?
Yes. Service animals are allowed on our buses. Yes. Even if it's just we've got to have a lot of people that come on with little tiny dogs and say they're their companion dog. Our bus drivers aren't going to question them.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Another question, and maybe start with Art, although I think everybody contributes to the overall safety and well-being of the community in serving drivers who are visually impaired and maybe shouldn't be drivers. You talked about a special program.
Well, the conversation on giving up the keys, as you know, is a very difficult conversation. All right, and so sometimes I sit with people as they're sort of mulling over whether it's time for them to stop driving. And so in that sense, I wouldn't call it a counseling service, but we're just there to listen to people as they process the issue. As I mentioned earlier, we provide rides to folks who have vision impairments. And so from that point of view, we contribute to the community. By the way, we're providing a bunch of rides these days to folks who are visually impaired to work and back every day. And so, again, we provide lots of rides for lots of different reasons, whether it's work, whether it's going out to dinner with friends, whether it's going to the theater, what's going to yoga class, and then there are the more standard, doctor's appointments, shopping, but also we joke in the office that there would be fewer hair salons and nail salons in Sarasota if it weren't for us. So it's 941-364-7530. And I have some brochures I'll just leave here. Most of the information is out of date because we've changed so much in the last few years. But the good news is the phone number is right. So you can at least use the phone number to reach us.
And we'll take that out to the table where we'll do some after this session conversation with any of you that want to stick around. And Art can't stick around, so.
Yeah, by the way, let me apologize. I feel overdressed today, but we got tickets to the ballet months ago, and so that's where I'm headed from here. So,
I have a question for Uber.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as Uber for kids?
No,
because I thought
as a single mom, I wish.
my sister lives in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and I thought that somebody had mentioned that there's an Uber where it takes kids to
There's a
their
lot
activities.
of smaller companies that are trying to do that. You have to be over 18 to be able to get into the car, but
So all Uber.
I will tell you, a lot of companies that try, it's just, there's a lot of liability involved in moving
Yes,
children,
of course.
if you can imagine. And so no one's been able to get that business model off the ground. I know we talked about, a lot looking into Uber Teen, for at least the teenage, and we've piloted that in some cities, but not full.
We're debunking the myth.
Yes.
Very good. Well, I would like to thank everybody for participating in this discussion today, our panelists and our audience, and I think that transportation will continue to be important in our community, and we'll look forward to you all getting involved in what the future is going to be like and how we can make the near-term future work for us in getting around.